medical discussion, you have to have the disclaimer, I'm not anti-vax.
Here we go.
Let's just say that up front.
Here we go. Yeah, there goes Aaron Rodgers over.
This was emailed to me. I think it is interesting based on the mandates that are being passed down now.
Yep.
And we'll hear from the White House, too, in just a minute to kind of make the point. But have you ever heard of the Nuremberg Code? You ever heard of that in medical terms?
No. I feel like I'm about to be educated.
You are, and it's not good.
I love it. I love
it. It's ugly.
They say it's the most important document in the history of the ethics of medical research.
Okay.
It was formulated in August of 1947 in Nuremberg, Germany, by American judges sitting in judgment of Nazi doctors accused of conducting murderous and torturous human experiments in concentration camps, right? We all know that.
Correct.
And you remember the Nuremberg trials. We
Yes.
basically had war crimes tribunal for the Nazis,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, they came up with 10 things that said should be present in any medical research, or you could say any medical situation, right? The very first point before all of this starts, the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. They go on with 10 points, and they say that this means the person who is involved should have legal capacity to give consent and should be able to exercise free power of choice without the intervention or element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other forms of constraint or coercion. Okay? We got that?
Got it.
They go on and they list how these things should be done. Experiments should be designed based on the results of animal experimentation and a knowledge of the natural history of the disease or other problem under study, and that the anticipated results would justify the performance of the experiment. Again, ethics in medical research, okay? It goes on down to talk about the fact that you should have the qualified people doing this, and during the course of the experiment, the human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end at any time if he has reached the physical or mental state where continuing the experiment seems to be impossible to them, he or she, okay? So this whole thing of medical ethics is what we're talking about. And while it's not directly tied together, somebody had emailed me this and said, now think about this. That's what we said came out of the Nazis' medical experiments. And then look at what we're being put through now. Yeah. Do the mandates now even meet the criteria of the Nuremberg Code?
Wow, there's a question for you.
These are Nazis we put to death for this, by the way.
Why don't you look at item 1?
Wow.
Must be voluntary.
I mean, it's
well-informed, understanding consent of the human subject in the full legal capacity, saying we're not going to have medical people forcing experiments and medical.
Look at number 3
on people unless they agree to it.
Should be based on previous knowledge, expectations derived from animal experiments.
Must have a justification for it that you've shown it that it's safe.
Wow. Okay, so we're up against a pandemic. Mm-hmm. We've got to roll the dice on a few things to try to curb this thing. Can we have the Biden administration spokesperson?
Yep. Here is the spokesperson.
To be.
Yeah, this is the one filling in for Psaki, who is recovering from COVID. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So listen to this quote from the Biden administration's spokesperson.
Thank you. The U.S. is now accepting fully vaccinated travelers from countries that were previously restricted during the pandemic. Given how rapidly the Delta variant spread here within the United States over the summer, why are there still no vaccine or testing requirements for domestic travel?
So, we say this all the time. Everything's on the table. We just don't have any announcement to preview right now on this. So I don't have anything more to share on the domestic travel.
So she's asking, since foreign travelers coming in have to be fully vaccinated and give a negative test unless you're coming from Mexico. That does not apply, by the way.
Right.
why don't we have travel restrictions in place in the country? Why don't we limit where you can fly on an airplane, where you can drive, all of that? She says everything's still on the table. We have nothing to review or announce at this point. It just seems, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right,
Well, no, it doesn't feel right. And
does that just kind of give you the creeps
it does.
a little bit?
It does. Especially, I guess the part that's concerning me the most, look, there was a time when we didn't know what was happening. Now that we know that it was part of gain of function research.
It sure seems likely.
It seems like very, very likely.
I tell you what, we can rule out: bat sandwich.
Yeah, and everybody
one's out.
And everybody started thinking, "Oh my goodness, what's going to happen?"
Hey, let's have a picnic. Who's got the bat sandwiches?
Right. So this kind of behavior by our government felt less strange. The part that's odd right now is that we seem to be pushing to the other side of it, and our death rates are down, our hospitalizations are down, people are returning to normalcy to a large degree concerning gatherings of people, but yet the government's strong arm seems to almost be going up.
It is. It's the most restrictive it's been since the shutdown.
And that doesn't.
It seems like we're not responding to the threat with the threat level should determine our response.
It doesn't validate.
Even if you really are for the government doing a lot of this, it should be responsive to our, as the curve goes up, response goes up. Right now, the curve is coming down, response is going higher.
And we don't see any new variant on the horizon that seems to be of any concern right now. Like we saw the Delta variant coming, and we said, hey, what's happening in Europe is probably going to happen here, and it did.
Yeah. And I think we've got a reason maybe for that. I heard a doctor talking about it, and I'm going to give you a strange comparison, but I think I'll make the point.
Yeah. So, that's what's odd. And then you have a spokesperson who says, well, anything we want to do with mandates, all of it's on the table. And you kind of go, well, does it warrant this kind of behavior in our current state? It doesn't appear to. And I think that makes it even creepier.